bleeped out. All right, star 2 to raise your hands, my friends. You got a victory or something you want to talk about? Now's the time because I'm wide open. There we go. Dave, what's going on?
Hey, Mitch. Well, I've got a slew of notes that are coming up to be paid off.
Mm-hmm.
People are trying to take advantage of the low interest rates. Houses that we've sold with houses that we sold with under financing, where they have realized now they can go down to the bank and pay off switch over to the bank financing. So left with I've got a little bit larger chunk of change there within a few weeks than I normally have to deal with. So I'm kind of looking at projects that might be a little bit larger projects, because this is happening at the same time when it's getting harder and harder to find the kind of deals that I've been living on, used to over the last few years, as prices have gotten ridiculous. Finally, we've been catching up with the rest of the country, unfortunately, I guess, over the last year or so. But one of the things that really caught my ear was your projects, and I'm specifically wondering if you might give any parameters for a site that would be viable for a big rig parking lot.
Man, you just need a lot of truck traffic. You need a lot of 18-wheeler traffic, and you have to have some bathrooms. We actually just came to the conclusion that we were going to have to put some porta potties out at one of ours, because we were driving around out there and some guy was taking a dump up at the front of his cabin, just taking a crap right on the parking lot because we didn't have any place for him to go. So you got to figure out a bathroom and gate it, some kind of electronic gate. We usually leave the gate open during the days. We just close them at night because we don't want to wear the gate out. People coming in and out all day, just leave it open during the day, and then at night it closes. You want to get some lights, but we found some lights that run off of solar power, and we bought all these telephone poles, and while the telephone poles were on the ground, we set up these lights and screwed them to the tops of the poles, and then we put the poles, stood the poles up and put them in the ground. They're pretty good. They're about $250 a piece. Of course, the higher your pole, the more light it sheds, and then they got a lot of lumens, and these lights have come a long ways, right? Can we agree on that? You got some pretty powerful lights now that don't really run on much electricity, and so. Lucky for us, that means you don't have to call and get an electrical inspector and run wires and run cables and trench and all that stuff. I mean,
Yes.
They're all just freestanding. It was about $1,000 a pole with a light by the time we got it all done. So, if you need 20 light poles, it's $20,000, And, easy access really, but some of ours, are kind of hard to get to. Even though you can see them from the highway, you got to take the loop-de-loop around to get to them. One of them is really pretty bad. We're doing okay, but you really need to know the contracts. There's a different kind of contracts, and you got to verify that these truckers have certain kind of insurance, because if you prohibit trucks with toxic stuff, then you're going to lose a whole bunch of your business. So you have to make sure that they have an insurance, and that that they have insurance for toxicity, whatever they're hauling. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So it's like everything else. It looks like, just get a square piece of dirt and go park a truck on it, and then all of a sudden you start finding out, just like everything else, it's a little more complicated than that,
Oh, I figure. In terms of truck count and nearness to an exit and off of a freeway, I'm assuming I would have to be have, right along the freeway so that some people could actually see that as they were driving by. But
yeah, but you also got to figure where are these people living. So they, it needs to be closer to town than further from town, because they don't want to have to drive 20 minutes to your real inexpensive dirt that you bought. They're not going to drive 45 minutes to your lot. They're going to try to find a place as close as they can to the town that they live in.
Would they leave their everyday car there while they've got their big rig out for however long it is?
Absolutely. They pull the rig out and pull their car in, and that's what they do every day.
Okay. All right.
And then make sure you have enough turnaround room, and they're put in at like 45-degree angles, so it helps cut down on the space between rows. We went down to 12-foot spaces on the advice of a consultant. And 12-foot spaces weren't enough. I mean, you need 14 feet. These people are coming in tired at the late at night, and it's dark, and even though we have lights and everything, maybe it's not the best lights, because you got these big rigs, there's shadows. There's shadows. Yeah. Maybe they got to park right between two trucks. I mean, you got to give them a little more room than you think, And the more convenient it is, the more people will like it and stay and not go someplace else that's got tighter spaces or tighter turnaround rooms, So just the same as in boat storages, People say, man, you put a lot of space between these buildings. I say, yeah, these people are coming off this lake drunk, and they got to back a 30-foot boat trailer into a hole. So I need to give them plenty of room to line up straight, and then I make the stalls a little wider, so there's not like just 6 inches on both sides, and they're trying to figure out, exactly what angle is the back of this boat going into this hole. So I like 14 foot wide better than 12, 15 foot if you want to afford it. That's the problem with big spaces. Big rigs. It's not just the space that you got to give them, but you got to give them the turnaround room too. You got to give them room to line up.
Yes. Well, I'm figuring I'd need about 8 acres for it to make sense. And the scary thing is kind of what proximity to what, to which town, to which city, where the driver's coming from, and.
We're usually we're like off 35. I mean, people are running from San Antonio to Houston all day long. They're running from San Antonio to Laredo, going south all day long. Some of their jobs are, they pick up a load in San Antonio and they drive to Laredo and they drop it off and they come back. That's their job. That's what they do every day. But they just need a place to park their truck. And then there's companies that will come in and, have 10 trucks and say, well, we don't have, we have, our business is booming and we've got all these trucks, but our offices don't have enough place. Our yard doesn't have enough space to park them all.
Yes. That sounds like a build it and they will come kind of scenario, hopefully.
Well, yeah. I would always have a plan B. Like if truck parking is not working, will storage work? Will, what will work? Do I put up covered parking and do RVs or what? Like I would have a plan B. You know what I mean? Like if I'm wrong on this truck, what's plan B?
Yes. Good point, Saul.
Yeah. And then, we had a 5,500 square foot metal building at the front of this thing. And because there's going to be, on this particular one, it was 250 trucks you could park because it was 12 acres. And maybe a little less, maybe a little more, depends on the exact size of everything. Sometimes you get companies and they just have, bucket trucks or something. They're real easy, they don't take up a bunch of space like a semi truck. But and we found that if we had a metal building or a pretty decent sized structure up front or somewhere on the property, that it was a real easy lease to a diesel mechanic or a tire shop or both. Again, our guy got smart and said, I'm a diesel mechanic, but I'm fixing to be a diesel mechanic and a tire shop because these people keep asking me to fix their tires or replace their tires. And, so he said he made half of his shop or part of his shop into a tire shop. And you can actually get a pretty good premium for the space. You're not just renting it like a regular space because you actually have a built-in clientele for them. Like they don't even really have to go get any business if you fill up your space. You know what I mean? And then the mechanic, if they're popular and have been long-standing and have a good reputation, they'll have trucks that come over and want to be by them. They'll bring you some business. I don't think you can count on them filling you up or anything, but you'll get some business from a good mechanic who people just say, I'm going to park my truck over here by my mechanic because I trust this guy.
Sounds like it's a smart idea. Yeah, they can go home and he can fix the problem. They don't have to make a special trip.
It gets kind of interesting because after that, like if you actually get 250 trucks on this place, I mean, you can rent. Maybe a food truck will pay $800 a month to park. Where they're going to feed 250 people every morning. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
What you really need is like a discotheque with a brass pole and some dancing women is what you really need, but I'm not in that business.
Okay. I'll put that down anyway. You never know.
Might have been able to convert that building into some other kind of building and made a lot more money, but I'm not into that. So.
Play it safe.
Yeah, get to some light.
Thank you.
Take a cut. I'm
yes.
just joking.
Well, when I was driving around just right along the freeway, I was amazed at how many big rigs, or at least containers, seemed to be filling up every available space that I looked at already. And how you can drive the same road and never really look for a certain thing, but when you start looking for it, oh my gosh, there are a lot of these things. So it's clear that there are people who need
One of the things you do is you just act like a truck driver that needs the truck and tell them I'm looking for spend a couple of days trying to figure out where the hell you can park a truck. Find out what they're charging, find out where they're at. And the ones that tell you they're full, maybe you're looking for a piece of dirt right around them,
Yep, finding dirt's hard to find right now, but with these points you're telling me, it's going to make it at least more feasible.
Well, what happens is sometimes just because you're in the halls or you're talking to someone or you're on a podcast or you're on this call and it's just brought to your attention, and then one day you just stumble right in and you recognize it because we've been having a conversation, or you've heard conversations, and there it is right there. It's perfect. It's just sometimes just because that's how you find them is because you're aware. Not that you're even looking for one, but then one day you find this piece of land and go, wow, I get this house and this thing and I'll sell it, but there's this extra land with it, and I think it might be perfect. Mike, how we got to the conclusion of a truck parking was Mike was sitting on his phone with his truck pointed out the driveway at the highway, and he was talking on the phone, and he just started counting cars while he was counting trucks while he was on the conversation on the phone. And before he got off the phone, he counted 175 big rigs had just gone by his face. 175, in however long that phone call was, 15 minutes, 20 minutes, 25 minutes, 30 minutes, whatever it was. That's a lot of trucks. And they never stopped. Just because he left and quit counting didn't mean there wasn't any more semi trucks that came that day down that road. There was if there was that many in a half hour, how many were on the whole day? We actually thought about sitting someone out there to count the whole day. How many semi trucks rolled past this place for the whole day, all day long, from sun up to sundown? How many? I mean, and if you're really serious, you'd probably count for whole 24 hours, all night long too. Because there are truckers that are running at night, right?
Sure. Yeah.
I mean, probably when that guy goes to Laredo and brings back his rig and drops it off, probably someone gets back in it and leaves that evening and comes back in the morning, and they just rotate. They both using the same truck.
Yeah, that's what you see mostly if you're out driving between midnight and dawn. It's you and the big rig.
Yeah.
But then the question is, where are they stopping? Where do they need to stop? Where, what would make, they can go by all day long, but it not be the right place for them to stop and park.
Yeah, so, it's kind of tricky. So I guess that's why you really got to do some research to find out who these people are. I wish I could find out, like, if there was a place to go to scrape a list where you could find everybody that owned a big rig, You can do that with boats. I mean, because you got to get boat trailers and boat licenses and all this stuff. I mean, you can go to the courthouse and you can find out everybody that owns a boat, and you can solicit it to them for your boat storages if you want to. I never had to, but you could. But I haven't figured out how to do that with trucks, so you just got to make sure you have a place to put some pretty damn visible signs so that all those truckers get a chance to see that you're there.
Yes. Well, there's a lot of money if you can, connect them to that business. I had a friend who was managing a Pilot's, if you know what Pilot's is.
Yeah.
The truck stop, Pilot's truck stop, and he would tell me the numbers, what they grossed every day. It just, spun my head around.
Yeah, it's a different clientele. They're not
serious money in the.
Yeah, they're not just like. These people are not just passing through and finding a place to spend the night, though. These people are just here every day, and it's a different truck driver.
Sure. Yes. But well, even the automatic driving trucks will have to have a place to park.
Well, that's one of the things we thought about. Is this business recession proof, or how will it do in a recession? I said, well,
yes.
If they're not rolling, they got to park, and if they're rolling, they got to park at some point. It doesn't really matter. Like, it could almost. I mean, I'm not saying that I would ever want this to happen, but it might be a boom if, like, economy stopped or slowed down. Then they just have to stop their trucks, and then they're not going to throw those trucks away.
Right.
They got to put them somewhere.
Interesting. Yes.
I mean, that's my thought. I don't know.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, that's my thought. I don't know, but that's my thought. Like, even in bad times, it should be a good business. The self-storage do good in the good times because everyone's downsizing. And so one thing about Americans, they might move from a big house to a small house, but they're not giving up their crap that it took to fill up the big house. They're going to keep it, and they're going to go put it in storage. So even in the recession, the storages, they didn't spike. Just nothing changed. Of course, we had a different kind of customer coming in, but it didn't matter. It just kind of stayed the same through the good times. And then when the bad times hit, we had a different kind of customer, but it just kind of stayed the same.
Yes.
All right, my friend, anything else?
That's it for tonight. Thank you very much. I appreciate the insights.
All right. Let me know what you're thinking. I can try to help if you want, but the other thing about truck drivers, I'll tell you this. They don't do anything online. They're computer illiterate. You have to wait on them. You have to take the contract to them. You have to fill it out for them. You can't count on them to do anything on their own. You got to meet them, go sign them up, get their signatures. They're not going to do anything online. The only thing that we demand online is that they have a credit card, because I'm not chasing these people around or sending out bills. I'm just going to I'm going to hit your debit card or your credit card every month, and when it's expired, I'm going to call you.
Yes. So marketing to truck drivers through the internet for your parking place is not a really good idea.
I don't think so.
You need a big sign.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll let you know what happens.
All right.
Thanks a lot. Okay. Bye-bye.